This is the full description of what the item does. For 3 Clover tickets, it will refresh the shop with itself reappearing as one of the options every time. It also has a secondary effect of increasing all symbols by their base value permanently. But despite how powerful this effect might seem, it is so unimportant to why this charm is overpowered that this will be the first and last time it is ever mentioned in the entire course of this video. But this simple, unassuming item is the single most broken effect in this entire game. On the surface, it really doesn't seem that broken. At 3 Clover tickets a refresh, you're losing a valuable resource every single time you use it, so it's not really that much better than refreshing it with your coins, right? And for the early deadlines, this is true. Cigarettes only become busted after you gain access to a proper rigged symbol build. The build generally will look like this. Now, as you look at the table, you will see my individual items. First and foremost will be your chosen symbol's Clover ticket spawning item. Then you will have the picture of the symbol you are rigging, as this item is what ups the chance of that symbol appearing. Then you'll see that you'll want the lost wallet and the paper crane. Said paper crane's formal name being CloverPit in-game. These scale your symbol and pattern multipliers respectively depending on how many Clover tickets you have. These are the single most powerful multipliers in the entire game. This makes them a must for all builds once the Clover tickets start coming in. However, before your tickets become super high, you'll want something like Pentacle to start things off, but you will eventually move to the crane. After that, you'll want either number 1 or number 2, depending on the symbol you picked. This causes all patterns of that symbol group to repeat and is a no-brainer item. Then, once you have your symbols sufficiently rigged, you will want the mushroom. This doubles the values of all symbols after a 15+ pattern and sticks around until the end of the deadline, and can be made permanent by increasing the value of the chosen symbol with the phone before the deadline ends. Then you'll want the things that enhance the core mechanics of the game, namely the nuclear button and the megaphone, which double the abilities of the button and the phone respectively. The nuclear button is a big part of why number 1 and number 2 are so broken as well. It also enhances the power of the picture, allowing you to further boost the chance of seeing the symbol you're rigging. Ideally, you will also want the battery doll you see here. Or if you happen to be using Clovers/Bells, you can use its inbuilt battery item instead. Or if you want 11% chance, you can do both, as this will allow you to charge your items in the middle of rolls, which lets you activate them more than once during the same section. This also typically results in your items having a full charge for your next set of rolls, which is super valuable. But technically, thanks to cigarettes, you don't strictly need this, as you'll more or less always have access to a battery via shop refreshes. The rest is mostly optional and build dependent. Golden symbols can be useful for early scaling, but Midas Touch can do the same thing. Chains can be important for early scaling on patterns, so generally you'll want to grab a fortune teller when you see it. Again, symbols can be good for early pattern repetitions, and for more specific builds, like say for example if you have the fake coin, which gives you a 10% chance of receiving another roll, you can then marry that item to the golden horseshoe to make that item guaranteed every time. This can lead to absolutely insane things like this. By the way, this clip is 3 minutes and 30 seconds in total. Yep, that's how long it takes to resolve. You can feel free to skip to this timestamp here if you don't want to watch the whole thing, but if you want to see it in all its ridiculousness, I have the whole thing here. Now, this does not happen every time with the Golden Horseshoe. It has a 10% chance to destroy itself after every roll. But more often than not, you will at least get about 4 additional rolls out of it, though it can break in a single one sometimes. Another example of unique builds would be something like a 666 build. This is a bit of a risky build, and one that is only good for endgame, as that's the only time you can afford the losses. But if you want to guarantee red or white calls, this is how you do it. Now, what did anything I just said have to do with cigarettes? Well, the commonality in all these builds is that they will result in you owning a comically large amount of Clover tickets. You will be well into the thousands, if not much higher, once you really start rolling. The thing about this game is that while the cash refresh does scale as you get further in deadlines, the cost for cigarettes never does. It stays at 3 Clover tickets even when you have a comical amount. And make no mistake, some builds will let you have frankly absurd amounts. Like if you're taking red calls at all, let's just say it's entirely unimaginable you will ever run out. Yeah, you're never spending all that. And even in a white phone run, you still won't have any problems with them. You won't have uncountable amounts, but you'll be well into the thousands, which is more than enough. And most importantly, every Clover ticket you spend refreshing the shop to get everything you could ever want can be won right back with these builds. In fact, you won't just get back what you lost, you'll be net positive. Well, then wouldn't that make these builds the actual broken thing? But what if I told you that once you have a sufficient amount of Clover tickets, that the only aspects of your build that are actually required are the ones that give you those absurd amounts of Clover tickets? Now let me illustrate it. On screen, you will see X'd out all the items we can literally trash because we don't need them anymore. See many items that I said were important before? Well, they won't matter for the upcoming Degenerate strategy I'm about to tell you. Well, here it is, the single most degenerate and boring strategy in this entire game. First, we need to rig cigarettes to appear at the beginning of every deadline. Therefore, we need to get the shop refreshed to the point that we get this black orb, which in-game is called Abyssu, I think? We will then buy the orb and make sure the next time we see cigarettes, we assign it to the orb. We will then place the orb inside the drawer. When the next deadline comes, we can then break the orb to spawn in cigarettes immediately. This will be a late deadline where we already have more tickets than we can ever comprehend using. We will use this excessive amount of tickets to spam shop refreshes endlessly until we get the orb again. Along the way to get the orb, we can buy an item that provides a set scaling amount of cash, 30% of the debt needed. All you need to do to pass every single solitary deadline is to buy this item 4 times with your infinite cigarette refreshes. And you'll never have to worry about running out doing this, because like we said before, the cigarettes are only 3 tickets or less forever, and you are already extremely net positive on your tickets. You can go to infinity like this. The game literally cannot make you lose, because you will never have a problem performing this exact strategy. It doesn't matter how high it scales, it could suddenly scale like insanity, but it wouldn't matter because the item we're after is 30% of debt scaling, and cigarettes are a set 3 Clover tickets forever. To add insult to injury, if you're using a red phone build, you don't even need 90% of the setup. You could sell every single item, bar a single 666 dialing phone, and have Clover tickets forever, thanks to the perk to double Clover tickets from the red phone, which leads to the absurd amount I showed you earlier. And no matter how many deadlines pass, the price of cigarettes will never change, and your ability to just buy the debt from the shop won't either. You could just buy the 30% 4 times every time, and there's nothing stopping you. The very moment you had that many Clover tickets, you became inevitable. You also became boring. As powerful as this strategy is, it is also the most boring strategy imaginable. All you do is sit there and refresh the shop for like 30 minutes to get the debt. And the worst part is this is actually the most effective strategy in the entire game. You literally can't lose with it. It's an actual path to infinity. The fascinating thing is that for so many aspects of this game, the developer had actually anticipated bad strategies like this. For example, that golden horseshoe item I showed you earlier that got me to 54, well, that's actually a really lucky thing. That build is technically infinite, but the developers saw that and put a 10% failure chance to make sure you didn't play literally infinitely. Also, the shop itself, when refreshing with money, scales to the current deadline and increases in price with every refresh in order to prevent you from being able to spam shop refreshes like this. But that doesn't apply to cigarettes. You don't need to worry about the refresh, because you can just carry cigarettes into every deadline with the orb. And if your goal is to get a score the length of infinity, cigarettes are still the most broken thing, because you'll need to refresh the shop 1 billion times after every roll in order to refresh the items that decay, such as the aforementioned battery doll. It's what keeps these builds stable. And it gets even worse once you successfully escape with the white phone, as that will unlock the clock, which you can now use alongside the tape that you unlocked during your first escape. I cannot tell you how unimaginably broken these items are alongside cigarettes. You can literally make sure that every deadline never ends with these items. Look at this. I have 26 rounds. And this is not even the maximum. I can go even further. I can go to the hundreds, to the thousands, to whatever the heck the cap of rounds is in this game. The only thing stopping me from making this game literally last forever is my own sanity. Part of me wonders if this was intentional, that infinity is actually totally possible to reach if you're willing to waste all your time on Earth, and that the only way to truly stop is to give up voluntarily? Because make no mistake, with my successfully broken build runs, I have never actually lost. I just give up once I get bored. There's a core design principle that states that a player will optimize the fun out of the game given the opportunity. And there's simply no fun going into infinity because there's no question whether or not I can reliably reach it every time. The moment I got this fairly standard build going, I had already done infinity in all but execution. If we contrast this to Balatro, there's no Joker that's even 10% as busted as this, as there is nothing that allows you to refresh the shop literally infinitely, and as a result of refreshing that shop, be able to clear a blind before it even starts. But that's not the case for CloverPit. Well, I guess this all goes to show one thing. Smoking's actually really bad for you. You really shouldn't be able to chug packs like this. And that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching and sticking all the way through to the end. If you like it, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others, as well as leaving a comment. I read all of them, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, you should see a few videos up in the corner. Feel free to watch any of them that strike your interest. Anyways, I hope you have a great day and take care. Bye.